Continue our breaking news coverage. The indictment of New York Attorney General Letitia James on bank fraud charges comes after she has spent years publicly and legally tangling with President Trump. James' defenders say these new charges are obviously retaliation for those high-profile cases. Now, her critics say she's the one who made things political, campaigning in 2018 specifically about how she would target Trump. And she said this in a video posted on the day after she was elected.
We're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally.
Joining us now is political anchor at Spectrum News, New York One, the host of Inside City Hall, Errol Louis, and associate professor of political science at Fordham University, Christina Greer. So, Errol, you talked to James back in April when the DOJ first said it was reviewing allegations against her. I want to play a clip of that.
Let me just say to all New Yorkers and to all Americans, the allegations are baseless. The allegations are nothing more than a revenge tour.
Okay, we heard her there, but we're having some issues with the tape, Errol. My question is, how did she strike you? Did she seem concerned or resigned to these charges?
Well, she was certainly concerned. There's no such thing as an investigation that has your name on it that is frivolous. No matter how flimsy the evidence may be. And so you have to take it very seriously. She did and does take all of this very seriously because it's going to be an expensive proposition to get herself out of it. The substance of it, though, many reporters had looked at it because there are pro-Trump activists who have been shopping this material around for months and months. And many of us looked at it and we delved into it and we just didn't find very much there, that some of what was alleged did not seem to match up with the facts. And the reality is that if you want to take down someone like a Letitia James, you better have some pretty serious evidence. And thus far, it hasn't really emerged.
Let's play the clip now. I think we have the full tape.
Let me just say to all New Yorkers and to all Americans, the allegations are baseless. The allegations are nothing more than a revenge tour.
So she was already saying essentially what we heard in her post-indictment response just last night. That was, again, a few months ago. Errol, you have some new reporting on how a lot of New York's top officials are now rallying around her, right?
Yes, for the Jewish holiday last night, I happened to be at a number of the celebrations where a lot of state officials, including the governor, were present, and it was the talk of the town because this was just a few hours after the indictment had been made public. And they were already making videos in support. They were already thinking about plans for a rally that I believe is going to be held later today. People are in the Democratic base, the Democratic elected politically active base, are furious about all of this for what it does say about the president's ability to name a person and then pressure people, some of whom resigned rather than carry out these orders, to launch a prosecution against Letitia James.
Christina, James sees this as retribution for especially that civil fraud case she brought against Trump, where she eventually was able to get a jury to find him liable for a $464 million judgment for a long-running scheme to improperly inflate his assets. Now, an appeals court has thrown out that monetary punishment. How significant was that case for James?
I think, it's really important to say the appeals court threw out the monetary punishment, but they did say that there was still fraud that the Trump organization, that means Donald Trump and his two sons, engaged in. And so the financial piece is one thing, but the actual allegations of fraud still stood. And so as Attorney General James has been very clear, it is just because Donald Trump has operated in New York for decades does not mean that he's above the law. And, a court found that he actually had engaged in long-standing fraud in the state of New York in a host of areas. And so, as Errol has said, the president has been cherry-picking who he would like to prosecute. I mean, he's not looking at mortgages of people in his administration. He's not looking at Republicans. And it sets a really dangerous precedent that we have the president of the United States who promised this on his, campaign stumps, that he would actually go around and try and find Democrats that he could pay back, essentially, for the gross mistreatment that he felt he had experienced.
And it was a judge in that particular case that found him liable. Christina, it wasn't just the civil fraud case where Trump Trump and James tangled. Her office has also sued the Trump administration dozens of times. Talk to us more about her impact there.
I think it sort of goes to a long-standing history between the two of them. She's been very clear in her role as Attorney General that the Trump administration and Trump organization, has engaged in long-standing fraud. And so, as you see right on the screen, 2018, 2019, 2022, these aren't, early cases. I mean, this has been going on for quite some time. She's also tangled with Andrew Cuomo, the former AG, former governor, who's now also a mayoral candidate, not in the Democratic Party, but as an independent. And so I think, these allegations against the Trump administration and the indictment will actually play out in possibly peculiar ways in our own New York City mayor's race on November 4th.
A lot to watch. Christina Greer, Errol Louis, thank you both for joining us this morning.